The silence of death descends on the village at exactly 12 midnight. No dogs bark, no birds move. Even the wind seems to stop. And at that moment, something inexplicable begins, something that no one has been able to understand until now. This is the story of a small village in France. It was an ordinary village with fields, trees, a church bell, and a few dim lights in the evening. But one year, people noticed something strange. Children stopped being born in the village. During the day, everything was normal. Pregnant women were normal, doctors were normal, and reports were normal. But as night fell, labor pains would start and suddenly stop. Many women were rushed to the hospital, screaming, and as soon as the first light of dawn broke, the child would be born. At first, people thought it was a coincidence, but fear crept in, because for a whole year, not a single child was born at night. Doctors changed their schedules, tried to induce labor at night, increased medications, but the more they tried, the more the birth would be delayed until morning, as if time itself was being held back. Then a midwife revealed something. She said that after 12 midnight, the atmosphere in the village changes. The room becomes cold and the woman's body suddenly becomes calm, as if someone had stopped the pain. One night she opened the window and the whole village was awake, but no one was moving. People were standing, but not moving or speaking, and the church bell was silent. That night, for the first time, a woman claimed to have heard footsteps in her room, but the door was closed. After that, something else strange started happening in the village. Pregnant women began saying they were having dreams, as if someone was telling them, "Night is our time, life will come in the morning." The priest called it superstition, and doctors called it psychological pressure. But then an experiment was conducted. A woman was taken out of the village by car at night, and at 2 a.m. she gave birth to a child, completely normal. After that, everyone fell silent. The problem wasn't with the women, it was with the village. Old records were dug up, and there was a mention of a village was built on a site where centuries ago people had been buried in a mass grave during a plague. The villagers believed that the land didn't accept living things at night. Years later, the phenomenon stopped, and children began to be born at night again. No one ever found a reason, but even today, the elderly in the village say that some nights are special, when time stands still, and if a birth is due, it's delayed until morning, because in this village, night has always belonged to the dead. This is the story of a prisoner whose sentence continued even after death. Yes, you heard it right. This happened in 18th century Europe, where a small-town court sentenced a man to death, but something strange followed. The prisoner, named John, was jailed for a minor crime, but the court decreed that his sentence would continue even after death. People laughed, but it was a serious matter. After John's death, the prisoner was still punished in the cemetery, with chains and iron bars placed on his grave. People would hear strange noises from the grave, and some nights they would swear they heard John's screams and the sound of chains. The punishment was spiritual, but so severe that people were terrified. Years later, a religious elder prayed at the grave and removed the chains, and the strange noises stopped. The villagers learned that some punishments are not just for the body, but the soul as well. Imagine someone dying, being buried, and years later the authorities decide to execute them again. Sounds unbelievable, but it's not a story. It's one of history's strangest acts of revenge. Oliver Cromwell, a powerful man in England, had overthrown King Charles I and ruled the country. The king was executed, but when the monarchy was restored, the new king, Charles II, wanted revenge for his father's death. The problem was that Cromwell was already dead, but the revenge didn't stop. The order was given to dig up Cromwell's grave 2 years after his death. His body was chained and dragged through the streets as if he were a living prisoner. Then he was hanged publicly. Yes, a dead man was hanged. People watched in silence, and the courts remained quiet. In Japan, there's a story about a small community on a remote island where young women and children began to disappear. Reports say that over decades, almost all the young people vanished, leaving the island empty. Strangely, the island's fish and birds began to thrive as if nature was restoring balance. Scientists believe there might have been toxic minerals in the soil or a disease that wiped out the population. But the truth is, the island remains abandoned, and many call it the Dead Island. In 1947, a small island was discovered in the Pacific Ocean named Arocha. Locals claimed it was once uninhabited, but when scientists arrived, they found that time seemed to pass differently on the island. Trees, rocks, and water were changing at a different rate than on the mainland. A young man who returned from the island was an old man. The island's strange phenomenon even affected a research ship, HMS Aragon, which visited in 1952. The ship's crew reported that it vanished in fog, and when it returned, part of it was missing, as if it had traveled through time. Today, Arocha is considered a mysterious and terrifying place.